Fog early, otherwise partly sunny today with a high of 82 to 85. Mainly clear tonight, low 64 to 66. Then Thursday, look for sunshine and some clouds with a thunderstorm in the afternoon and a high of 80 to 82. Mainly cloudy skies Friday, high 81 to 85. Then look for thunderstorms, some heavy, Saturday afternoon. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Holly Holdren.
The Ocala Golf Club, one of Ocala's premier golf courses, from its pristine 18-hole course layout to its amazing pro shop. Jason Linhart and the staff at Ocala Golf offer everything that you need for your golf outing. That's the Ocala Golf Club. Experience country club style golf at municipal prices. You won't go wrong with the Ocala Golf Club. Call them for a tee time today, 352-401-6917.
This is Ocala Talks with Tom Schmidt, bringing stories that are important to our community in and around Ocala. Plus, of course, a splash of sports as well. Now, here's your host, Tom.
Good Wednesday morning. It's hump day. It is Wednesday, February 10th, 2021. I am Tom Schmitz, coming to you live from the palatial studios of WOCA Radio, just outside the food court entrance to the Paddock Mall in the Brick City beautiful Ocala, Florida. Galen Unall on the line with us, as he is every morning, brought to you by the good folks at Penn Flooring and Palm Garden Health and Rehabilitation Center. Galen, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Tom. How are you today, my man?
It's hard to see. I can barely see across the grass here to see what's going on at the mall. You got pretty good sight distance out there driving to
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I drove in this morning.
No, Gainesville's, yeah, it's brutal. Low-hanging clouds today.
Yeah, I drove in this morning. It was pea soup. Somebody said it was. So I was listening to a local classic rock coming in, and they said somebody said it's, you know how it's raining hard or it's snowing hard. Somebody said, and I got to say this right so I don't get a FCC problem, it's fogging hard outside.
That's a good way to describe it.
I thought that's pretty good. It's pretty good. So I hope everything's okay with you. Give us an update real quick, because we always talk about where the bloodmobile is and everything, but we know we're in critical need. Give us an update on just where we are with the blood supply and how either bad a shape or good a shape we're in.
Yeah, we haven't been in good shape in a year. We're just day to day. We have less than a 2-day blood supply, and we have for the last year. Most of our hospitals that we service are in one of what we call the control program, where they really have to triage every unit of blood that they give. And it's bad, and thankfully our hospitals are pretty understanding. Our demand has actually increased over the last 6 months or so, and it's just been rough. So, we have less than a 2-day blood supply, and we're in critical need of everything. So, just get out there, give the gift of life, donate blood.
People don't realize that when, they cut off elective surgeries and everything in the hospitals, they didn't do that because of the need of hospital beds. They did it because they had foreseen with COVID and everything that the opportunity to give blood and to donate blood would drop, and so the blood supply was going to drop. So you have to have less surgeries. Am I right in that thought process?
Well, they canceled elective surgeries for about 2 weeks, and that was really to keep people out of the hospital, because they did think there was going to be this influx of patients. That influx of patients never really materialized. What we had was, after everything opened, you had this huge backlog of elective surgeries. It's called elective surgeries, but they're not really elective, right? I mean, you need to have it in order to maintain your way of life. So everything from orthopedics to, in some cases, some benign tumor removals and, back surgeries and hip surgeries and things like that. So what we had is There was none of those for about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks at most. And then they just turned the spigot on, and there was this massive influx because of all the backlog. Then there was a little bit of a lull period where people were afraid to go to the hospital. But at that time, they were catching up on everybody else who was doing elective surgery. Now what we're having is people who avoided going to the hospital because of fear of COVID have now returned, and they've returned in force. And so over the last, I'd say 8 to 10 weeks, our hospitals have been really packed, not with COVID patients, but with other patients. Our cancer hospitals are, we supply Moffitt. Moffitt, over the last 6 weeks or so, has had a huge increase in patients that they see. And that's what we're seeing a lot of. So there's never really been a break for the blood supply. And then you add on the fact that we need convalescent plasma for those COVID patients. And my job's never been easy, and I think that's why I love it, because it's so difficult. This has been the most difficult 1 week of the last 12 months has been harder than the previous 20 years that I've had in this organization. And it's just been an absolute struggle. And the reason why is really simple. I mean, where we typically have blood drives is just gone. Schools, we're not allowed to have blood drives at 90% of the schools that we used to have. That's 25% of the blood supply right there. University campuses, college campuses, high school campuses, your technical, vocational type schools, campuses, all gone, wiped out since March of last year. Then you add in businesses. Businesses are another 25 to 30%. Your large employers, your places where you go into an office space and, there's over 100 people there, and so you get 20 donations, gone, wiped out. And so what we've been left with is our retail, where we go to all our Walmarts, our Winn-Dixies, our Publixes, and our donor centers. That's really all that's left of our blood supply. And it's been a struggle to go to the same location, 3 and 4 times a week. Thankfully, our partners with our retail have been incredibly understanding and incredibly accommodating, or we would have to cancel elective surgeries because of a lack of a blood supply. It's been tough. It's been really, really tough. And through all this, our own staff have had to deal with the risk for COVID, and we've had COVID outbreaks in different areas where, if you get one tech on a bloodmobile that tests positive for COVID, you have to shut down that whole staff for 10 days to make sure that they're symptom free. And it's been rough, to say the least.
Sounds like it's been a tough 12 months for you guys. Thanks for everything you and your staff do. Thanks for everything you and your staff do, though, because even as tough as it's been, you're still out there on a daily basis getting blood, trying to get a blood supply, and something's better than nothing. And at least you guys are producing something, and we as a community appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate that. But it's been tough for everybody, and we thank goodness in Florida we're at least open, and in Georgia and Alabama where we supply, it's been open, so that we could go to Walmart. There are stories of some of our partners up in the New England area and California where they haven't even been able to run blood drives. They've had to have everybody come into their center, and it's been terrible for them. They have canceled elective surgeries for a very, very long, extended period of time. So it could be far worse.
I think you make a good point. A lot of people, when I think of elective surgery, and a lot of people, I know it was back surgery, foot surgery, and all, but a lot of people think elective surgery is just plastic surgery. And it's not. It's all the surgeries that aren't life-threatening. All surgeries are life-threatening, but it's surgeries. It's surgeries that you didn't have to have because your life was in danger of dying. and that's an elective surgery.
Right.
Setting a broke, redoing a broke foot, or making sure that your back, when your golf swing makes your back hurt, that your back pain goes away. That, while it's actual surgery that needs to be done, it's still elective by definition.
Right, and elective surgery probably takes up between 35 to 40% of all the blood that is used. Comes from elective surgeries. Trauma makes up about another 20 to 25%, and then the rest is done on an emergency basis. So the good news is the traumas are down because there are fewer people on the road. There are fewer workplace accidents. Those are, at least for a short time, those have gone back up. But again, it's been rough, and I think everybody's kind of over it. I think the sooner we get back to being open, the better we all will be mentally and emotionally and physically as a community.
Yeah, I need the theaters to open back up so I can get my free movie ticket when I donate blood. That's what I need.
That's right. Well, we're it's interesting. Regal Cinema is a place we've always gone, and they're closed, and there's no intention of opening back up.
Canceled.
And again, their movies are, Top Gun. When's Top Gun coming out? It's supposed to be out on my birthday of last year. It's not even going to be released this summer.
I know.
They're talking about maybe a November release date. So when do we return to life? When do we, at some point, when you look at the infection rates, even in our hospitals, the need for COVID plasma has dramatically dropped. So when do we return to life? And that's going to be not only the government's decision, but as society, when do we just say, okay, people are getting vaccinated, it's time to move on from this. And hopefully we can look back on it and learn what we should do and what we shouldn't do.
2035.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I'll make it that long.
Hey, we need to take a break, pay some bills, listen to the good folks from Penn Flooring and Palm Garden who bring you on these airwaves every day. Galen Unall from Life South, Tom Schmitz here on Ocala Talks. We'll be right back after this short timeout.
Choices every day. Some are unimportant, some are life-changing. What about the choices you make every day? Take the stairs or the elevator, baked or fried. What if your choices meant you are likely to die of heart disease this year? Palm Garden of Ocala is here for you when recovering from a hospital stay. With Palm Garden's Fast Track program and state-of-the-art facility, we have skilled nursing, therapy, and everything you'd expect for the best in care. Call 352-854-6262 for more information.
Hi, this is JP from Penn Flooring here in Ocala. I would like to invite you to come in and visit our spacious showroom where we have solutions for every style and budget. From wall-to-wall carpet to hardwood floors and tiles, we have an unsurpassed selection of flooring. At Penn Flooring, we've provided quality customer service with a family touch for over 25 years. Visit our website at pennflooring.com or come by our showroom, 1201 Southwest 17th Street, just over the bridge. Penn Flooring, quality customer service with a family touch.
Now you did it. Are you completely insane? He's back. He, who must not be named. The man, the myth. The only guy in Ocala to eat his own weight in fried pickles. Twice. Now, you asked for it. Sorta. Live and in person. It's Tom Schmitz.
Welcome back to Ocala Talks on a Wednesday morning. I got a roving traffic reporter, Galen Unall, on the phone with us going to Gainesville. Galen, I got a roving traffic reporter out near the airport here in Ocala. I won't tell you who it is, but you can figure it out. They're reporting very thick fog. There's an accident, a multiple car accident on the corner of 60th Avenue and 20th. That's right there at the red light, just about, right across the street from the airport, just at the end of Ocala Breeder Sales is where this accident is. It's the corner of 60th Avenue and 20th near the airport. So just keep that in mind. It's the pictures show multiple cars involved. One car's engine and hood and everything look to be inside the passenger area of the car. So be careful out there, folks. But if you're in that area, 60th Avenue and 20th near the airport, you're going to be in traffic for a while, so avoid that area if you can. Use alternate routes of instead of going down 20, use 40 or 200 as your alternate routes. If you're heading west out towards Denellen 484, so just traffic accident, bad multiple car traffic accident, the corner of 60th and 20th, right there at the airport. So wanted to give that out to everybody. Hey, Galen, I don't know if you saw this over the weekend, but a guy who is polarizing, to say the least. I met him once in 2010 when he was working for ESPN, and nice enough guy. We had lunch. Didn't try to big time anybody or anything, but he comes across as arrogant and polarizing, to say the least. But Colin Cowherd in the hospital with blood clots in the lungs. That sounds serious to me.
Yeah, I met him back in the
and Galen's in that.
We're in there with. I'm at Payne's Prairie.
Yeah, you always right there in Payne's Prairie. We go to lose you. Did you meet him when he was working in Tampa, at their station in Tampa?
Yeah, I sure did. And back then he was just another local sports talk guy. I was a local sports talk guy in Jacksonville, and he was fine. I mean, I had no problem with him. The problem is when you have a national sports talk show, you have to know about an inch deep of every team.
Yeah.
And that's tough, So if he would talk about, the Jaguars or Tampa Bay or, the Florida Gators, he knew enough to be really dangerous, but he didn't have any details. And so as long as he's talking about the Lakers, you're fine with him. But the second he starts talking about the Gators, you're like, well, that's not going on, or that's not true. And that's just the way of life, no matter what the national topic is.
Yeah, but you never want to you never want to see somebody with blood clots and in the lungs.
No.
In the lungs, that just sound But you're right. The job a national broadcaster has to do. I mean, I do an hour's worth of show prep every morning here at the station before I go on, and I wake up in the mornings. First thing I do is turn on the local news, and I look at the local papers to read about what happened with high school sports the night before, anything like that. I do all that, and I do that just for one area. When you're a national broadcaster, you have interns and all that are helping you do some of the research, but you still got to peruse all that and have to know enough and retain enough to be able to talk about it. That's got to be a tough gig.
Yeah, well, he's got 30 staff.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize that.
I have Joe Martone.
Directly for him.
I got Joe Martone.
You don't really have Joe.
Oh, Joe sends me stuff all the time, believe me.
So, I think he'll be fine from the clots in the lungs, give him COVID in, and hopefully it doesn't turn into an aneurysm or something like that. You got to find the underlying condition for that, but I think he'll be fine. And he's not my favorite sports broadcaster that I listen to. I think Mad Dog's much better, much more entertaining. But yeah, I'm sure this will resonate throughout the sports world.
That's what my thoughts is. People just across the sports world will be like, wow, Colin Cowherd, you just never know. Sometimes we put our radio personalities and our sports personalities on a pedestal and think that they're invincible sometimes because we want them to be invincible because it makes our life seem a little better. So speaking of something that was a little better, that was the ratings for the Super Bowl last year as compared to this year. Wait, they were better the year before that, and the year all the way back to 2007 is the last time a Super Bowl had a television rating. This one, and to add insult to injury, the New England number higher than the Tampa Bay number when it comes to watching the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, you got to remember, New England was in the middle of a hurricane, or not a hurricane, a snowstorm. And in Tampa, the weather was really nice after it rained. And let's the game matters. It was a terrible game, very boring, 31-9. Kansas City was never in it. It was just a boring game. So I'm not surprised by that number at all.
Does it
at
speak?
all.
Does it speak to Tampa though? People always get on the Tampa Bay Rays for nobody going to their baseball games, and I say, folks, in Tampa, let's just think about this in Tampa. In Tampa, you got the Rays you can go to, but you also have the Sunset at Clearwater Beach you can go to. You also have Busch Gardens you can go to. You also have a world-class casino you can go to. You have Ybor City you can go to. You have the riverfronts in Tampa Bay and St. Petersburg that you can go sit and have dinner at and everything. There's so much to do in Tampa. I'm not surprised sometimes that people don't go to sporting events. Are you?
No, and I think it's what you don't know, and it's captured in that rating, is how many people are at a sports bar or at a party. You know, and that's a little different. So that part doesn't bother me. But ratings are going to continue to go down for everything because we're such a splintered society. You know, I was talking, and we were having a Super Bowl party, and our friends have kids the same age as we do. And there were 5 teenagers all within 3 years of each other, and none of them watched the same thing or listened to the same music. Imagine that. Like when we were growing up, we listened to the same music and we watched the same thing because we had no other choice.
My friends like Led Zeppelin and Van Halen, or they weren't my friends.
Well, but even I don't care who it was, everybody in your school had heard the music of Van Halen and Led Zeppelin.
Oh yeah.
There were five teenage boys in my living room. One of them even knew who The Weeknd was. The other 4 had no idea.
Well, there you go. You know, I was.
But I think that's what's going to continue to happen in our society, because there is no common thing that we can all rally around, whether it's TV or radio or music or anything like that.
I was at a Super Bowl gathering, and right as the game was about, probably 20 minutes from starting, 15 minutes from starting, there was a group of about 12 to 14 20-somethings that were at the same place. And they all said, okay, we're going, and we're going to go. And they were talking about a different watering hole they were going to go to. And I go, you aren't going to stay and watch the game? The game's about to start. They go, if it was the World Cup, we'd stay and watch, but it's just football. That was literally what they said, and they left.
Sure.
That's a problem for American sports when the 20-somethings, the demographic that's supposed to watch it, are saying, it's just the Super Bowl. If it was the World Cup, we'd stay and watch.
I mean, societies change. I mean, our grandfathers watched horse racing.
And baseball.
Right? Horse racing was, and boxing.
And boxing.
Heavyweight, societies change. I have no problem with that. To me, it's almost expected. It's just we have to, we're going to have to, I think it's going to be really interesting to see what, like my son's generation, when they're our age, what are they going to look back fondly at as a group? Us, we can go, wow, the 80s was so cool to grow up in the 80s. And, you and I could talk about the A-Team and Knight Rider. My children won't have that commonality. They're like, I don't even know who Annoying Orange is, for example, or whatever.
They got Bob's Burgers.
So, I guess the closest thing.
They got South Park.
No. My kids never watched South Park.
Oh, they're probably too young, yeah.
It would probably be SpongeBob. Will be the only thing that everybody has watched. And I think that's really interesting.
So you're telling me a sponge dressed in a Cub Scout uniform, whose best friend is either a starfish that's mentally challenged or a squirrel who lives underwater with a fishbowl on her head to be able to breathe. Is that the show you're telling me about?
Yeah, I mean, let's not compare. It's not like Knight Rider. I mean, we talked to a car or the $6 Million Man.
We have the technology. We can rebuild him.
Or the Incredible Hulk. I mean,
don't make me angry.
Like,
you wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Yeah, don't act like our shows were highbrow. I mean, we had the A-Team. where the plan came together within, the last.
And nobody ever died in the A team. Remember that? Nobody ever died in the A team.
No, they made a point of that. So, I try not to judge, but again, I think it's going to be fascinating in 20 years.
Galen, where's the Bloodmobile today?
Hey, today we're right back at a Walmart. We're at the Walmart in Summerfield, and we're also at the Walmart down in the Shores. So please just give the gift of life, donate blood. Also, come check us out on the Boulevard, 1607 East Silver Springs Boulevard.
Tomorrow we'll talk the 80s. How about that?
We could do it. We could do it for the rest of our lives.
There you go. Galen Unall, Live South. Thanks, buddy. Talk to you tomorrow.
All right. Bye, all.
WOCA, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, Ocala, Gainesville, the villages and on top of the world, the source.
Senate voted 56-44 to move forward and impeach President Trump a second time. The first failed impeachment cost taxpayers roughly $32 million. Senators will continue at noon Wednesday. New York lawmakers introduced a bill that would tax certain financial transactions. The consequence is the NYSE may move out of state if the proposal becomes law. NYSE President Stacey Cunningham said the New York Stock Exchange belongs in New York. If Albany lawmakers get their way, however, the center of the global financial industry may need to find a new home. End quote. The United Nations on Tuesday denounced the use of disproportionate force against anti-coup demonstrators in Myanmar. Hours after the UN statement, a woman was critically wounded after being shot in the head as police fired live rounds during another massive anti-coup rally in Myanmar's capital, Naypyidaw. Longtime NFL head coach Marty Schottenheimer died Monday after a lengthy battle with Alzheimer's disease. Schottenheimer compiled a 200, 126, and